Check, check. All right. Hey everyone, Lazy Ben. Let's go again. Short stream today. Gonna stream till around about lunchtime. 1:30, something like that. We can get a bunch done. Let's see where we got to yesterday. We were doing properties, this properties panel. I might want to change how this works, you know, because what we're doing is adding input boxes. And we're losing our per pixel collision sometimes because the input boxes are square. So like if I go like up here, so that's highlighted yellow. Doesn't it? Should highlight the cloth, but it's not. It's this input box of the barrels is hot, but the thing's not hot because we're not over the top of it. So it's a little bit confusing. So I might do that. It's intersect content. So for normal data, what do? We add the world input box there. I think what we really want to do is add the input box there. If we do it that way around, then we check whether we're intersecting the cursor with the texture, which is the per pixel collision. And then we add the input box, which means hopefully we regain our per pixel collision. We'll see anyway. Yeah, that's better. That's much better. We'll just go down and see where we're doing this elsewhere. Things that are just rectangles, it doesn't matter. Okay, the rig's same really. Rimmed animation's just a rectangle, so it doesn't matter. Cloth. So I think with the cloth it's a little bit different. We do want to test it with the mouse first. So let's get the mouse. We do have the mouse position. So if we say bounds.intersect, test P there. That's just a handle. They're both just handles. Okay, cool. Oop. Nice. So we put the input box back in after we know it's intersected essentially. And what that does is it enables that per pixel collision to happen. So even if you go right down here, still selecting cloth, and then move on to the barrels and it goes to barrels. What I was doing before was testing against a rectangle first. And now it's testing against a rectangle second. Awesome. Right. Now we want to do draw properties. Draw brush instance properties. We want to actually do the lighting. So it's probably going to be here. We might actually need a separate, you know, like panel for lighting. So if we select like the light, normal sprite content data, we might want a separate actual panel for lighting, which means we can't really do it here because this will draw it in the same panel. So we're going to go if canvas draw separator lighting. We just want to draw it. So we've got the instance. The instance has on it content brush instance has brush lighting on it. So I think draw candidate you probably want a draw brush lighting. Draw brush instance lighting. And we'll just do this. Awesome. So what does this actually look like? We tick left panel paint mode and we go to where we were drawing the lighting. It's here. So the lighting is instance lighting layers, I think. Let's see if that works then. So now if we select the light, we go to lighting. Oh, it's going through the wrong thing. It's drawing that panel twice, look. Must be calling the wrong function there. Draw brush instance lighting. Alright. Thought that went a bit too smoothly. So the light. Override properties. So if it has the override properties, basically, so if instance well, that's actually per layer, isn't it? If light override properties. If not light override properties, continue. I'm just going to go auto props equals light override properties. And that's just props. So we don't have such a thing as glow Z bias. I should probably go in the properties. We don't have an ID either. Okay, so the ID, glow Z bias. Yeah. I suppose we can put that in. Right. Light name. do on a name as well then, maybe. Okay. So we need to set these things when we actually make the do the stamp. So when we actually stamp the content painter, sprite sheet content painter. So we call override properties. In a bunch of places. So I think what we want to do is we want override properties. We actually want to pass in the light name. What does the brush lighting have in it? Has the name in it there. So when we say override properties, we could probably copy it here. So the light file, does that actually have in it the name? It does. So we can say name is the light file name. And we'll stick breakpoint there. Okay, so we need to get rid of all these. So if we stamp a light in, to make a layer for it. The light file has the name. So that means this has an ID. It has the name, the glow Z bias, and it has all the override properties as well. All right, so let's just build up a little bit of a level. Sexy 1977. Nice username. Thanks for the follow. Got any questions? Just ask, no problem. All right. So we'll make a new layer called props. And then we'll add some cloth in. And then we'll have a new layer called grass as well. And we'll put in this rig guy. Track him with the idle animation. And loop it. And then we're going to put in a tree. I'm going to put in one instance of all of the different brush types, essentially. Okay, tree's not working. So if I save, it goes back to not idling. That's a bug. And that has the same. Okay, we need to actually push the ID onto there. Couple of bugs then. So the main one is, well, they're all pretty main actually. The tree is not appearing. It's because we were brushing. Okay, we need some kind of message then. Put the tree down there. And then equals the framed animation even. So the bug, we've got a couple of bugs. So when we do this, it needs to actually push on the ID. So that's in the editor. When we do take the left panel even in mode. So when we do this stuff, need to push on. Push ID. Oh, what is it? Scope ID. Something to do with scoping ID. Scope ID. UI scope ID. Canvas. And then instance ID. Like that. And that'll stop highlighting two boxes with the same name. So that was happening when we had the brush selected as well. Alright, there we go. And another thing is, when we save it, the animations don't play again. So it's the renderer for animated rig content. So for some reason, we are doing the clear and the set. Maybe we actually need to... No, that should be fine. That should be totally fine. So why is it not working? So it should be playing there. What does it actually look like when we load it? Doesn't play at all. So the tracks, got one track in it, idle, index not, looped is true. Interestingly, the skin is not loaded. Because it's just the default skin. We haven't actually specified a skin. Idle 0 true. So we're setting the animation track 0. The animation, very hard to tell what it actually is. Idle. So there's no tick frame. So I think what we have to do is when we do this is actually do rig tick BM true force like that. We have to force a tick. Might do that. And what we might do is we might say force tick. And then we'll just do force tick there. See if that works. Apparently not. At least we are forcing a tick. Like, I don't know why it's not setting them. Animation state. Tracks. There's one on it. Man, this is so insane. Animation. Idle. There we go. So it's none of the... Are any of the bones actually active yet? So we're doing some mathsy stuff. Okay, so that seems to be fine. So we come along again actually, which I don't think should be true. Tracks are empty this time. Ah. So why are tracks empty? Track hash is 0, so this is actually a new version. So it didn't actually load any tracks. So this is that level I've just made. Oh, there's 2 animated with content datas on there though. Three. Oh, there's a bunch of them. There's 4 of them. What level is this? Doesn't say anywhere, unfortunately. Editor window. Prefab editor. Okay, so there's apparently 4 of them. Did something wrong there. Desktop prefab. So we've got normal data, cloth, grass, get past all the grass, animated rig, 3 of them, all in the same place, 4 of them, all in the same place. So did it stamp 4 of them in there? Okay, so what we have to do is build a new level and see what happened. It must have stamped 4 of them because we were in the brush mode. Mixtail Studio, hey, it's going all right. Thank you very much. Just working on the level editor a bit more today. Hope you're doing all right. What are you up to today? Anything good? So I think because we had stamp selected, so we did something like this. This was the bug. We went painting some floor, and we have brush selected, and then we went back here and we selected this guy, but brush is still selected even though it's not appearing on here. That is the bug there. So we need to prevent that. Wow, working, yeah. Ooh, 1 sec. Working, yeah, working. Well, I hope you have a nice day at work. Day of working. Hope it's not too bad. So, how do we solve this? In the content painter, what's it called? Content. It's actually in the editor. So when we want to brush in an animated rig, content painter for animated rig content. What we're saying is we can do it with both brush and stamp here, and we really only want to do it with stamp. So what's a nice way of doing this? We just want to automatically swap it back to stamping. So we need to say like stamp, really. And then we'll get some kind of error. So we can say if it's not complete, we have to swap it back, swap the enum value to the other one. It's not great though. I'd rather not do that as well, because I like the idea of compiler as when you don't have the thing implemented and you need it to have implemented. So what I might do is actually have a tuple which says like using stamp only mode. Stamp only content. And that's going to be animated rig content for now, sound content for now, refab content. And they're basically stamp only. And then we want to go template class T concept is stamp only content. We have to say that the type T is in stamp only content like that. And now we can test if it's stamp only content, right? So on tick board panel, paint mode. We want to test, we want to see we've got content type. We want to say if constexpr is stamp only content type, paint mode is equal to stamp. That should just automatically solve that. So I'll put a breakpoint there. So basically any content type that we put in that list of stamp only content will make sure that it's stamped. So we do this. And then we go to brush, then we go back to this now. And then it automates on paint mode at the moment. There's no IntelliSense, unfortunately. I'm assuming paint mode is paint. Might be able to see. So it's number 2. It's not number 2. Okay, now we'll be able to see what it is. So we end up in here. this is 0. 0 means stamp. Yeah, so that automatically swapped it back to stamp. So now when we do this, and we save it, when we look back at test prefab, it should just have one of them in it. Yeah, there we go. So what painting would do is it would put loads of them in as I was dragging the mouse around, which was the source of that bug. So hopefully, if I click on this guy, I can set the animation track to idle. And then when I save it, he just goes back. There we go. And if I load it, it should load in idle. The bug before was he was loading with no animation. There we go. So he's loading with his animation now. Okay. Right. Let's build back up that prefab again. So we'll have some floor. Brush minus 10,000. Boogie Burrow, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing alright, thanks. Just plodding on, you know it is. Working on more on these properties stuff today. How are you doing? You alright? So put some flooring. And then we'll put in some barrels. Brush. Nope, not brush. Props. So we actually, the brush layer wants to be props. So we'll put some barrels in there. And then put in a light. Just behind. And then we'll brush in some grass. So I wonder if when we make a layer we want to actually swap to it as well. It's a lot of grass. And then we'll put in this guy in props. Put him there. Set an animation track. Idle. Looped. And then we're putting a tree. Interesting, there's a paint mode there. For trees. Then we'll put in a flag. Paint mode there as well. Really, we can't paint flags on, that's weird. That's a weird concept. And then we'll put on this framed animation. Okay, that will do for now. It is weird that, so if I have a brush selected, maybe that would be in the brush panel. That would be better to turn it to stamp there rather than when we're actually painting it on. So let's not do it there. Tick left. Ooh. Tick left panel, paint mode. So I'm at wherever the here. So we need to get the actual type out. Which is just this. So if the content brush type is equal to that, we have to say if constexpr is stamp only content type, paint mode is equal to stamp. So this is on the left panel. So this is when we actually set the focused brush, the thing we actually want to stamp. We'll just check. If it's stamp only, we'll say paint mode is equal to stamp. And then there is actually a combo box somewhere. Paint mode, yeah. We don't really want to show this combo box if it's stamp only. I mean, this kind of needs a bit of work anyway. That can't happen there. Here. And we can say if paint mode is equal, no, we need to say we'll just do this for now. And that'll just get rid of that little section there. If it's a stamp only brush. It does need a bit of tidying up. It's quite a lot, isn't it, really, of code, this. What that means is when we actually select the tree, which it won't let me do. Maybe we've not done that for tree. So it's here actually, isn't it? So when we select the tree, we do have the stamp thing for tree. For animated rig, we don't have it. For framed animation. Okay, so that is stamp only thing is not correct. Oh yeah, it's because some sprite sheet tile content is not stamp only either. Is stamp only as well. This is the wrong thing. I actually need to be in Game Board Editor for this. All right. Let's put it back. I think it's this one. I'll have to just see. I can't remember. So it's derived off the content. So it does come from content brush pairs. What I want to know is what a tree is. I think a tree is a sprite sheet. Comes from a sprite sheet. So we need more stuff in that list. So if I do this and I select tree, the content brush is sprite sheet tile content. Data is tree simulation. Okay. So is stamp only content. Ooh, so this is a bit more complicated because we need to actually look in the tile sheet contents in there as well. So I'm going to do using sprite sheet stamp only content. Which is cloth, framed animation, tree simulation, and then we're going to do template class T concept is sprite sheet stamp only content. So this unfortunately is not Constexper, I don't think. We need to write a routine for this. So is stamp only content brush. So this is if is stamp only content brush, like this. So this, that can just go away. This goes in here. So we can actually say if Constexper is stamp only content brush content type. Turn true. So we can have a little kind of early out there. Otherwise, we have to go if auto data content brush content, well, just brush get content sprite sheet tile content, and then we need to go through all the sprite sheet tile content. Sprite sheet data types. Like this. Oh, that just can't return either, so result equals true. Return result, but we have to early out. We have to say if result return So using sprite sheet type is equal to and then we can ask that question there. If context is sprite sheet stamp only content, sprite sheet type we just have to check that if data has data, there's actually content really, has data sprite sheet data type. Well, I'll just call it data type. The result is true. Like that. That's basically it. We can early out there. Can also early out there. That's just a straight up brush. So it's a little bit more complicated because you have to actually look. So the things you're stamping from sprite sheets, some of them are actually stamp only and some of them are stamp and paint. Okay. Let's see then. So if I select a tree is stamp only. So content has data type. Data type is tree simulation. So this is testing if it's a tree. It's true. So it is stamp only. Which means we don't see that little combo box anymore. This is stamp or brush. So we do see it. So we can play stamp or brush. The framed animation is stamp only, so I don't see it. The grass is both, so we do see it. The cloth is stamp only. So it's cloth, framed animation, tree simulations. Brilliant. Okay, so now we can go back to the lighting thing. So it has a lighting tab in it now. We can change the light around. If you do glow power, glow Z bias. I don't think that's actually doing anything. Reflection bias. Oh, that's when we're reflecting. So we only want to display that tab when there are actually lighting layers. Okay. So we just want to say if instance lighting layers and that, we just draw the lighting. If there's no lighting in it, we shouldn't actually draw that panel there. Like there's no lighting on these barrels, so we don't see it. But there is lighting on this, so we do see it. Awesome. So we don't have properties for frames animations yet. Can't even actually select the tree. So maybe we need to do a step back so we can select the tree. So what's that? Draw focused content. So who to start with is calling this here? And we're saying is complete. So I think what we want to do is get rid of that is complete. And implement this, which just throws an error. And that'll just tell us all of the ones we forgot to implement, basically. Number 9, which is not great. It's not great that it actually doesn't give us the enum class. So number 9 is prefab. Right. It's not draw intersection candidate. It's draw focus content for prefabs. Or are we actually just... Let's go back. Ah no, we do want that because what we're doing is defaulting to this. Yeah. So we do actually want that is complete in there. Now I remember. So why isn't a tree working then? So if I... So interestingly there, it's actually not drawing an outline at all, even on highlighting it. And that's also highlighting two things, which is wrong. Okay, we'll figure out why it's highlighting two things first. Intersect content. We need to say if canvas is hot on the input ID. There. And there. So let's see if that fixes having two things intersecting. Should only be one thing. That might also fix the highlighting, possibly. Yeah, there we go. So now I can select the tree. Because the input box system is quite, you know, it's a bit more of a sophisticated system than just rectangle intersection with the mouse. So obviously the barrels and the tree are intersecting with the mouse there, but it knows to just select the tree. Okay, tree properties. So we don't have tree properties either. Let's do that then. So here's the thing, before we move on to that, we should actually put some more things in sound, because that's what we were working on yesterday for the last time. That's what we were working on last time yesterday. There's a couple of things I want to do. What I want to do is, so let's put a sound on. I want to obviously play it, and I also want to display the path to the actual WAV file. Okay, so let's do play sound first. So canvas, if canvas well, how did play work before in the old one? So go to sound. Copy sound ID. Sound type. Play sound, stop sound. That seems alright to me. Play sound, stop sound. Okay, so we'll do copy sound ID. Oh, we do this as well, sound path. So we do all of those things that I want to do. So that needs to go first, I think. The sound path. I'd have to load the brush again. So auto brush equals cc get content brush instance brush ID. If there's no brush, something's wrong. So if return. So this is brush source file. This is instance ID. And then what I want to do, go back to here. Play sound, stop sound. This is brush source file. See if this works. See how loud it is. Put that sound back in again. Hopefully stream it. You can hear that on stream. What I also want to do is be able to swap it out with a new sound. What would swapping a sound? It would just mean swapping the brush ID. Okay. So I want if canvas draw button change sound. Also new sound path equals get app platform Get save file name. So default extension. .wav. Default folder. That's it, I think. Default filter list. Look. WAV file, WAV files. If new sound path, auto new sound, will cc get how do we get the content brush for a file path? It's probably content browser 2. Does it get content browser 2? It should be get brush. There should be a get brush based on new sound path. Brush for that sound. And that's the new sound brush. Okay. So optref content brush get brush const w string u source file path. I'm gonna call it get brush from source because brushes also have file paths. So that'd be a bit confusing. Get brush from source. And see, if we have that, and we just say instance brush ID is equal to the new sound brush ID. Right, just need to implement this now. So what do we have to work with? We have the brushes. Brushes in them have source files, so it's very straightforward. It's just brushes find first in the test is that the arg.source file is equal to the source file path. Alright, see them. Change sound. Didn't actually go to the right folder ever. Let's change it to some music or something. If we have any music. Packs. Hood. We do have music somewhere. Title. Music. Ooh, that's wrong. It's a get open file name. Don't actually want to save over it. Assets, sounds, what was it? Sound banks, title, music. Right. We didn't find it. So obviously it's not been loaded. I actually only loads the stuff in the levels directory. I think, like the content, this is only from the levels directory. Okay, so let's just put in let's copy the overworld theme into a level. So it is the level editor after all. So that's the current sound. Change it to assets, levels, boat sounds, overworld theme. That didn't work. Still didn't find it. Oh, because we need to do 2 asset path. Right. Where do we want to do that? Probably here. Let's just, for a second, pause this music. Find it? It found it that time. And now it says overworld theme. Awesome. Right then, there we go then. So we can change the sound. Right, so the next one will be, so we've done that one, we haven't done that one. I don't think we've even done a selection for that one. So we'll do framed animation next. Properties. So let's look at the old one. What did it have in it for framed animation? Not much at all. Pretty sure you could view things like the frames and that. Obviously not. We actually need to put the default ones on the sound as well. What was it? Properties for sound. Just do draw default. What was it? Default. What was it called? Draw common brush instance properties. That means we can just move sounds around by dragging the widgets. So if you select a sound, there we go, we can just drag it. Z bias doesn't make sense for a sound. We're not doing depth actually. All those don't really make sense either. Shadow bias, reflection bias. Maybe it isn't draw common. Maybe we just want to do this for X and Y location. Right, mint. So now we can go into framed animation. So framed animation data, instance get data, framed animation content data. So if there's not framed animation data, return. So we're going to do draw common. And then what special things do we want for framed animation? What does it have in it? It's just got the brush ID, and it does have this thing called framed animation in it, which does have frame start, frame end, FPS. I might just default it to the actual normal. So I don't really think we really need to do much. Like I can imagine we do, might be a situation where maybe we want to play a section of the animation. But I'm not sure. Just do that for now. I didn't like it. She needs to do this. Awesome. Okay. And to be fair, we could probably do that for this tree. For the prefab. Let's save that and let's open up a new prefab. Paint that one into it. Prefab is negative, is int min there. Z bias is int min there. What's caused that? That's a good bug to investigate. And undo redo's not working. Alright, let's save that. Let's have a look at place test. Well, it says Z bias is 2. Whereas on there it says it's int min. It is int min. Focused content Z. It's apparently int min. So intersect content for prefab data. Instance. Now Z bias is just 2. No, it's still int min. Oh, quad Z max. No. Z bias or that. That's a typo. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll open back up that prefab. Place test prefab. And now we can actually move these things around. So Z bias is actually 4 there. I'm going to set it to be 0. Wonder why it comes in as 2. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make independent, select that, move it across to there. Maybe like move it up a bit. And then what I want to do is just load that back up again and see what it looks like. Didn't save it. So I need to work on that. It should actually be loading up the independent prefab instance. It is still independent. But it's not. So when I saved it, what did it do? So the barrels are in 99602. If I look at place test, it's this first one here. Independent prefab instance. Which is that instance there. Prefab instances. Oh, there's so many. Need to delete these. this one. So it's this. So we've got the floor. -2, -2 there. And it's difficult to say really. So what I want to know is if it's drawing the independent, if it's getting the independent prefab instance when it loaded it. Render prefab content. Here we go. So it's just getting the brush's source file. What we need to do is check if there is a prefab instance path set. And if there is, we need to actually draw that instead. Oh no, the source file is the prefab instance. Okay, so when I actually saved the level, it didn't actually save the prefab instance file. That's probably what happened. Okay, cool. So it is actually drawing off the prefab instance file. But when we save it, so if I put it like over here, well, put it like down here again. We'll put it at exactly 1, 0. So when we save this, we are going to want to save the prefab content out. So it probably has to do it here. Is that right? Right now when we save the prefab content, we don't do anything. What I also want to know is, does undo redo work? No, it doesn't. Okay. So does it work for any of them, even if they aren't prefabs? So if I just change this and then undo, that works. But if I am altering an independent prefab element, that doesn't work. So I need to fix that. But first we're going to try and get it to save in the right place. So basically what I'm suggesting here is that when we do this, that file's just not changed, whichever prefab instance it was. So we can do this, prefab content. Okay, I'm gonna have 2 minutes and then we'll come back and do it, because what we need to do is actually store the prefab brush, prefab instance. Well, we need to store the. Ooh, what do we need to actually even do? We need the content brush instance here, so we can get it back out, get the prefab instance out, and save that file. All right, I'll be back in 2 minutes and we'll do that. Okay. So, prefab content. What we need is the instance. I think we need the instance ID. And we want to do instance ID. Content instance ID. Right. So let's get rid of all these for a sec. In the place test, get rid of that. And then levels, boat, get rid of prefab, all the prefab instances. And then when we create this prefab ID, this prefab content, wherever that is, where do we set it? Editor, prefab content data. Prefab content 2. Right, we need to just have a quick look. Ooh, need to build it. Need to have a quick look and see where we're actually storing prefab content to. Could be here, actually. Do we actually want to do it? So we want to actually open up prefab test, place test, select the prefab. Yeah, maybe it is actually, okay, where we save this. That is maybe it actually. Rather than here. So when we save prefab content data, just add in a new layer, and then do this. So this is where we want to do it. So just get through all this. So when we do this and we make it independent and then we save it, it has an independent instance ID. And then if we go to the editor asset types, can we load that? We can load that game board content out from here. So what we need to do is we need to go if constexpr standard is same. So if the layout is the default layout writer, meaning we're saving, then we need to auto, and then we're going to say if data.prefab instance path independent prefab instance path, then we want to go auto instance is equal to cc get game board content data prefab instance path, like that. And if we get that, then we want to go write type to text file, and the path is data prefab instance path, and the text file, the type is the instance. I think that's it. So I think that what that means is that when we come to save, this path will get blasted through. We're writing to something. So we just basically need to load the instance, the changed prefab, and write that to the text file, and then that should save the change. Okay, so make independent, set that x value to be 0, y value to be like -3. Well, we'll say 0, 3, 0, 6. When we save that, it's gonna write it anyway. So this is it. It's at 6.0. So let's load it back up again. Looks right. 6.0. There we go. Awesome. That worked. Okay, so now I need to do some stuff with undo redo. I also noticed that the speaker isn't there. It's either there or it's been hidden. It's not there. So the speaker's not being drawn in the right place. I think all three of them are being drawn there, or all two of them. Both of them are being drawn there. So the speaker's not being drawn by the offset. So draw. Where are we? Renderer for sound. Sound content. Okay, so that's not quite, that's prefab content. Where's sound content? Yeah, we're not doing the offset. Okay, so if we open up prefabs, place test. Yeah, so we do need to fix undo redo. Undo redo is not working for this prefab stuff. There we go, the speakers were there now in the right place. Right. Happy about that. So it's also to do with this instance stuff. Let's just try and find a base test case. So what I'm going to do actually is this test prefab. Place test. And then I'm going to go to edit a window and then just load place test immediately. So make a layer. So I'm going to save that as it is. And then what I want to do is just stamp this on. Undo. So we've got undo redo when we do this. When I press tab, it turns the brush on and off. That's not what I want, I don't think. So we'll get rid of that. So it works. That works. So I can undo and redo. If I do this and make independent, and then that works. If I make independent, select that. Seems to have broken it. So I can't go back. So it's when I basically select something. That's broken it. Doesn't even have to be. So do that, and then I select it. If I go back, that should unselect it. And I go back. So, set focused content. It's this. See where this comes from. So it did do a push undo redo game board there. I think I know what's happening. The game board needs to save the focus content. Which it does. Okay, let's follow that around then. Focus content is null opt. Okay, so when I undo this, focus content is null opt. Now it's working. Confused. I'm confused because that wasn't working a second ago. Now it's not working. Right. I need to actually probe into this. So stamp it down. We'll get into the situation where it's not working, which is now, basically. So, focus content is null opt. So this should read null opt out. Reset. Has values false. Let me just skip the size of T. Confusing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That just didn't work. It's saying it has value now. And when we click off it, it's not putting in the undo redo step. Okay. When we do focus content reset, there. See about that then. See what it needs to push on another step to say that it's stopped being focused. Confused. Focused. Do redo does nothing. What's this? Be a bunch of stuff here that is I wonder if all of this needs to go away for now. Eventually this will all get deleted. It'll be a magnificent day, that. Coming close, actually. So we definitely do need tick focused content. Set focused content. Let's zero all this away. Tick focused content. Okay. So let's see if it just happens with a general sprite. Select it, unselect it, it doesn't work. Can't even click off it actually at the moment. So actually we do want those there. Actually, I don't think we... I think it's if focused content, we do that. To be fair, we could probably get rid of focused ID now. No, we won't yet, because just introduce a load of compile errors. Let's fix this first. So if we just move it, we don't get undo redo. But if we put something in the world, focus on it, and then move away, we do get undo redo. Should kind of be in one step. Let me click on it as well. We should put an undo redo on. Is that correct? So when we do that, we push this on. So we're pushing two states. We push one on when we click on it, and then another one when we drag it. I'm not sure we want to do that. Camera is just focused. What we need to do, whatever focus ID is reset. Oops. Focus content also needs to get reset. Right. So where are we here? This is the river stuff. So when we select it and then undo, that doesn't work. We do that, that puts in a state, and then when we move it, that puts in another state. I think that needs to be kind of combined into one state. So let's just assume this is happening. It's clear. So that pushed on loads. That's probably the problem. That will be a big problem there. If canvas is focused, is just focused, that needs to be. You only want to call it once, so that'll solve a lot of problems. Missed that because of the breakpoint. Try that again. Pushed one on. That pushed one on. There we go. So do this. That pushed one on. That did not, which is correct. It doesn't go back to being highlighted though. So go there. So let me undo there. Didn't call that. What's very strange. So select it, unselect it, move. And then when I do undo, why isn't it going through here? Ah, no. It goes and it's here, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. So select it, do that, then move. And this should bring it back to being selected, but it doesn't. It doesn't even call this. Why isn't it calling there then? definitely pushes it on. We select it, pushes it on. So when we deselect it, it pushes one on, and we move. Then when we undo, it doesn't go back. It doesn't actually pop one off. It pushes it on, but it doesn't pop it off. It only does it there. Must be another undo redo. Pushing that mouse position on, pushing the board position on. It's not the worst thing in the world, really. We'll leave that for now, and we'll work on. So that fixed that bug anyway, for not being able to deselect it. The next one is we need to be able to undo, redo. So if we stamp in here, let me do this, make independent, then we'll just move that over there. That undo doesn't work. Oh, it does. Make independent, select, move. So there's like an extra one. It's pushing an extra state somewhere. For some reason. Push the state on. Push the state on. Push the state on. Push the state on. Didn't pop a state off. So it's missing one. Okay. Push. 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 Pop, but it didn't move it. That's working because it's reverting back to its original prefab. Okay. So this pop should move it back. So the content itself. I need to turn that JMC back on. Hang on. Okay. So we do this, and we make it independent, and we select it. It's the next push of content, right? Yeah. So Kelose, how's it going? Hope you're alright. Got a little, I'm just working a bit on undo redo at the moment. It's going. Yeah. Well, cheers to going. Working a little bit on undo redo. So I can make these prefabs, and then I can break the prefabs into their constituent parts and move the parts around. That's not following into the undo redo. So when I undo the move, it doesn't work. And it's probably because I've not written the code for that yet. My brain is thinking. Not quite sure though. No, cheers. Oh, just brewing. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Quite early in the morning for you then, isn't it? So it's when we actually want to serialize brush instances, which is now. So the instance data is to do with this. I'm not actually serializing the data in the prefab itself. I think that's what it is. 7:30. All right, okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's a good time for a coffee, isn't it? So it's when I get to here. So like here, this is what we call this. We actually have to serialize this. That's what we have to do. So the code is not written yet. Any time is a good time for coffee. Yeah, you're right. Apart from maybe just before bed. I used to do that when I was younger. I could drink coffee at any time and be fine. If I did it now, I probably wouldn't sleep. So what we actually need to do is get the actual instance. So it's this. And then we just need to do writer.write instance like that. Instance. Still drink coffee before bed. Yeah, I used to do that. I used to really like it. I used to like code until like quite late at night, really, before I had kids. I'm more of a night owl, really. I'm more of a person who I'm productive at night time. I like coding in the house when no one else is awake. Okay. The result is okay. We just say result, and we need to get this back out again. Result equals reader dot read. So that'll actually serialize out the actual instances as well. So hopefully that solves that problem, and we can actually get undo redo on the instances. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah. So I had a good. My job back then was started at like 10:30 in the morning, so you could like sleep in all the time. Not so bad now, really. I start streaming at 9:30, but I'm up at like 7 because I need to sort my kid out for school. Yeah, so you can stamp the prefab. Whoops. And then break it into its independent parts. And now move one of these, and then if I press, there we go. Brilliant. Are you a coder in your day job? Or do you not do that? Oh, I wish it was your day job. Ah, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, one day it might be. Also, are you working towards it? Or are you just a hobbyist? To have a bachelor's and 5 years of experience. Yeah, it must be like quite tough market, because it's going through a bit of a the games industry anyway. It's going through a bit of a contraction in it. I used to work in the industry a long time ago for a bit. But I didn't really like it very much. The people were really good, but if you take what is your hobby and turn it into your job, and then you get tired of your job, all of a sudden you don't have a hobby. That's what happened to me. Happy in indie. Yeah, me too. That'd be good. I'd code with if I was the only coder, or maybe like one of 2 coders. That'd be awesome. Okay. I used to work in a team of there's maybe 20 or something coders. Probably not do music sound effects when you're programming as well. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Hence your project you're doing, yeah. Technical artist. Right, okay. Yeah. I bet that's in demand. You don't get many technical artists, do you? People tend to choose one or the other. I suppose for me, if If you take my experience, I'm more of a systems coder, really. That's what I do. I don't have very much gameplay coding experience at all. Well, I have done so. I did some from January to July when I prototyped this game and actually really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to going back to it. It's a whole different kind of skill set because you've got to like program fun, something to be fun, rather than just technically good. Yeah. That's a good thinking, that. Okay. I did some sound stuff today. This morning, actually. Finished this sound off. So this is a radial sound. And you can play it. And then you can change the sound. And play something else. Oops. You can change it to some music, and then you could make it like a ambient sound, which means it's just played on a volume. I want to do some fun stuff with sounds where you can paint them in. You can like paint sound in, so you know, like a river. So you could paint sound down a river, and then you could change the sound when you get into some rapids. Like blend the sounds together and have overlap and stuff like that. That'd be cool. That'd be maybe one of the next things I do, actually. Once I've got this refactor sorted out. Anyway. Okay, that's probably property panel done. So what I want to be able to do now is to click it and drag it around. And it needs to be like, this grid needs to work as well. So does the grid currently work with just like this? Yeah. So if you click that guy and drag him around to a grid and not to a grid. Painting an emitter would even work. Well, it would be, you would need, it would be like a heat map where like, or it'd be something where you could like paint a colour on and that would be the sound, and then you'd paint another colour on to be another sound, and then they'd mix together when they were like blended. And then you would need to build kind of like a mesh or something around what you've painted that you could like grow and shrink. So you could set the volumes. So it'd be like so this is just a singular point. Ooh, hang on. But you could imagine like a mesh with like red and purple lines on the outside of it. And that's like 0 volume scale, 1 volume scale. So it'd be something like that. I'm still like bubbling it in my mind as well, trying to work out what it would be like. So you'd basically need to be able to paint a mesh on, I would say. And then you just render it as a colour, like different sounds have different colours, and then you can mix them. Yeah. The main bit that I'm kind of like thinking about is how to generate the mesh. Take me a few days to think about that. You'd basically like put points in wherever the brush was. So circular brush. So you'd put points in on a grid, and then you'd be painting the points in, and then you'd have to use those points to construct a mesh. And then you'd have to get the outer boundary of the mesh, calculate the normal, and then you'd have to, on the normal, so you'd have like lots of arrows pointing out of the mesh, and then that's normal is where you would draw one of your, like the red outline for volume number 1, and then the purple outline for volume number 0, around that, something like that. I'd have to like have a go implemented it to see it, actually how it worked. Just getting a mesh, painting a mesh. Something like that, yeah. Most of the time, something like that is an emitter on a spline. Yeah, I could do that as well. The splines in the editor as well. I just quite like the idea of trying to do something where you paint it, you know. I suppose you just paint. You could paint out a spline, couldn't you? So rather than me like putting each individual points on, you could just paint it. And then you have your normal there, so you could just expand it over the normal. And then join all those points up together. Something like that. Okay, so that fixes that problem now. So now, yeah, we want to be able to move them. Painting would be nice on the user end, yeah. Create a spline with an emitter. And you would do something, some mixing of the sounds as the emitter moves along the spline. Yeah, so I think as well, if you think, you could have an emitter moving along a spline, or you could have it emitting sound all along that spline, like a river. If it was a radial source on a spline, I think that's probably what I would do, yeah. But what I would actually be doing is using the distance to the spline to calculate the volume of the sound, or the inverse. Connect from one brush to the next. Yeah. Yeah. Right, how's it going? Yeah, I got my hours mixed up. I'm in this afternoon instead. I got my hours mixed up. I'm in this afternoon instead. Like a slow river going to a fast river. Yeah, so I would probably just do an actual blend. So the sounds would be overlapping for a little bit. And if it was a linear blend, it would probably be fine. Where you just blended one's volume out and the next one's in. Like a crossfade type thing. That would be fun. So I did one of my previous engines, I did do a spline sound thing, which worked okay, doing a similar technique. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. It'd just be nice. It's just nice to think about how we would do it. I kind of imagined it like a heat map in my brain, where it was like it went from like green to red in volume, and you just like drawing it on, and then if you drew over it again, it would get redder. And that the actual color there is the volume of the sound. So you could have like really dynamic volume, like automation, essentially. You know, if you're on a space station, for instance, and you go past, I don't know, a little, like the engine room, and there's like windows to the engine room, you might be able to like slightly increase the volume at the windows. So it feels like you're moving, as you're moving the character, the volume swells and drops as you're going across the windows. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, it'd be cool. Okay. So it would be in tick focus content. So that draws it. Before we draw it, we want to actually move it according to the mouse position. Done some clue. Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, Godot seems good, doesn't it? There's a guy I watch on Twitch who's building a game in Godot. I watch a guy called Play Dungeon Mans a lot. And he's building a really cool 1980s shooter. And it looks like a cool engine. Okay. So we'll do auto mouse P equals canvas cursor position in world, right? If we have it, we just need to go focused content. It would be something like this, where offset was focus content dot position or dot P. And location.x plus equals get world space drag delta vector, so it's just location. In fact, it just needs to happen on the instance position. See how that is. What is instance? It's that. An emitter with a ray trace that pointed to the player. Detect any kind of wall. The wall I had for the demo had a collider and I used a percentage of its length where the occlusion occurred to adjust panning. Oh yeah, nice one. That's a good idea. Okay, so let's just go to the editor window. Let's test prefab. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't thought about how I would attach emitters to like non-stationary objects. It shouldn't be too difficult really, because if it was in the editor, anything that moves is really an animated rig, and I'll be able to put a burn on it, and then that burn would, in code, I would just attach the sound emitter to it. In the game, I'd just do it all through code anyway. Thanks. How's it going? Long time no see. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, it's awesome. Hope you had a good holiday. I saw all your photographs. That's cool. So that moves it. Move it there, move it there. That seems to just kind of work. What I need to do is move it on a grid though, because when you press this, it needs to move on a grid, which is more difficult. So I do have a little type for this. Just help with this. So we could probably do unserialized, wherever it is. Back to grid helper position. I don't know what to call it really. So we'll just do the grid one first. So this one is just the normal one. If you want a grid, what you need to do is detect when the drag's just happened got drag start. Yeah, so we can do drag. We can use drag start, I think. So drags world space drag start. And then we want to go instance So actually, I think this is just instance position. And then we want to auto drag vector. Drag vec is instance. No. The drag vector. And that's just rounded. The instance position is equal to instance grid helper position plus drag vec. See if that works. So this should hopefully drag along a grid. Whoa, no. Okay, yeah, so that's if this is actually canvas, get window, get input window, left mouse button just dragged. Okay, that worked, except it didn't put the right position in. I think this is minus drag start. Which is optional. Oh, that's good then. So we could just do this. No, that's wrong. Yeah, the drag vector must not actually be centered on 0, which is what we want it to be. Okay. If canvas, okay, input window. So there needs to be a drag start as well. Drag start. So the drag start and it's just dragged. We save the position. If drag start. Try that. Let's try that. Okay. That's the helper position plus the drag vec. Maybe that isn't. Maybe the drag vec is centered. There we go. So that's along a grid. And the other one is not. So it just needs to be if move mode, is it? Is normal. Do that. Else, if move mode is snap, do that. Don't need to actually cache out drag start either because we never use it. We just use it to determine if we're dragging or not. Is there not a just dragged? Canvas just drag. Something to do with drag. Has drag. There we go. has drag. And is there a just dragged? There's one in the editor. That'll be fine. Because this just dragged is for anywhere on the window. And obviously if we drag on the properties panel, it would be true. But we don't want that to be true, like. So we have to say the canvas has drag as well. We'll test that actually works. Yeah, we don't want to do that. What about for snapping? Works okay for snapping. So we need to say if canvas has drag for both of them. I believe. Because I might be dragging like a little widget, a little UI widget, and I don't want to actually accidentally drag something in the level. There we go. So I'm going to go back. So I'm going to drag it, put on the snap, drag it a bit more. Then I'm going to do. So when you put on the snap, that didn't actually push on and undo a redo state. But I think it's probably fine. I'm sure I'll have an opinion. Okay, let me know. Do I prefer to using functions directly from the OS API? Are you perfectly happy with using the C++ standard library? Like for memory management and I/O? Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you. So if you're not having any libraries, you're not allowed to use standard library, are you? You're not allowed to use STL. I have written my own using the OS stuff. I don't know if I recommend it. I did it a long time ago to see, just as a learning exercise, and that's what's in my code base. So, like, if I do file read binary, it calls open read file, which is Windows stuff in this implementation anyway. So I'm not using the standard file system or like a recursive directory iterator into array. I've written all that. But that was for my own kind of academic research or whatever, for my own learning. If you're on a, you know, if you're on a team of programmers, it'd be different. You'd probably just use STL. Yeah, I would, you know, like if you're really serious about no libraries, then don't use STL. Because you'll learn a lot more. For sure. Like, I don't even use standard vector. Or anything like that. That's just because I have my own vector that I wrote years ago that I just use because I know how it works. But if I was to do it again today, if I was to start this engine again today, I wouldn't have a problem with using standard vector, really. Standard vector is a prototyping thing. Yeah. So I have libbm there, which can be used on any project. So that's like just my own routines, you know, like STL. Build your mountain kind of thinking. Yeah, I mean, you've got to just evaluate what you want. Like, for me, it's like I want to become a better coder. And I think learning the fundamentals, learning how to make your own standard vector is good. Is good if you want to become a better programmer, for sure. If you've got different needs, like you just want to get a game up and running, or you want a prototype or anything else really, standard vector's fine. What you don't want to get into a situation of is like thinking that standard vector is some kind of magic and you have no idea how it works. You don't want to be in that situation. If you're in that situation, you should try and have a go at doing it yourself. Build your own. Yeah, exactly. You know, I have a lot of weird and wonderful things. Like, I have, so I have my own version of standard function, but I have another version of standard function which doesn't dynamically allocate memory, and then another version of standard function which has a certain size, and then if you go under that size, it's statically allocated, and if you go over, it's dynamically allocated. And I think you wouldn't know how to do that unless you would have learned about the inner workings of standard function. If you just use standard function and it's magic to you, try and have a go at doing it yourself. You kind of know how it works, which is why, yeah. Yeah. Like, STL's kind of good in that you can bolt onto it. So you can write your own version of standard vector and still have it work with all of the ranges stuff and the views stuff and span and all that if you want to. It's good in that way. So you can implement little bits of it. But I kind of enjoy all that kind of more low-level stuff, writing containers, memory management systems and stuff. That's what I really like all that. Like, the engine has its own heap and everything, so there's no new or delete or malloc or free in the engine at all. Other than placement new. I use placement new like this. But I don't use new or delete or malloc or free anywhere. Part of my thinking is that I'm here wrapping my API stuff anyway. Yeah. So what I don't think you should do if you're writing a public API like spine, which is isn't my code. That's the code that has the animation stuff in, like the rigged animation. And I don't really think it's very good because they've written their own vector somewhere like this. And they should have just used standard vector, really, because it's like going to be distributed to thousands and thousands of people. And this is their vector, which you have to use. And it doesn't have things like NatVis. So you can actually look in it with the debugger, without actually like probing into the memory itself. And they haven't written it in a compatible way with STL. So I can't take one of their vectors and make a span out of it, you know, very easily, like automatically or whatever. Like, I don't think you should do that. I think if you're going to write a public-facing API that other people are going to use, you should use a standard library, because that's what it's there for, and it means that all of your stuff will work with all of their stuff. But if it's your own code, I'd have a problem. Yeah, exactly. That's the same with me. Yeah, exactly. But as an API, I think Spine's pretty poor, really. But it works. The guy's rigged, and he moves around and he plays animations. There we go, awesome. I've got my own audio engine, so we can use that if you want. Yeah, what I would say is because it's designed to be bolted onto an existing engine, you should think about container compatibility. Like when they have their standard vector, or they have their vector, which could be standard vector, and you have yours, and you should make them compatible. And you can do that without knowing what theirs is, as long as you make it compatible with STL and they make it compatible with STL, they'll be compatible together, meaning that you'll be able to convert from one to the other really easily. That's what I would try and do, case by case. You can do things like override, like implement begin and end is a good one for vector. So begin and end, right? There's various ways to do it. If you implement begin and end, and they will have implemented begin and end, it means that they're compatible together, meaning that you can go from one to the other because you both have begin and end, and you have to do it lowercase. If you want to make it compatible with STL, you do like this exact wording. And what that means is when you pass it into an STL container, like standard span, it looks for your begin and end. And then automatically you can turn your vector into standard span. And that ripples throughout the entire bit of STL. That there's all sorts of little things like that in it. To do with iterators and all sorts. Yeah. So if I have a function like, if I go to mesh helpers, this is where we use it quite a lot. span, right, which is standard, this can accept my vector, my array, and it can accept standard vector, and it could accept a third party's vector as long as they had begin and end implemented. If all of them had begin and end implemented, which they should do because then they can interact with STL, this span will work for any type of vector. So that's kind of good for an outwardly facing API, I think. Kind of made more sense, got them more fuzzy. Yeah, so to make a span, you need begin and end implemented. So if you have a container and you have begin and end implemented, which is just like the beginning of the memory and the end of the memory, then it will work with this function. So you don't have to pass it standard span. You could pass it an array. You could pass it standard vector. You could pass it a third party's vector. So like the vector from, or T array or whatever it is from Unreal Engine would work with this as well. So even though span is an argument to the function, it's not what you give it. You give it something which can be converted into span. If that makes more sense. And it will implicitly convert, the compiler will implicitly convert it for you. Done read-write pointers for ring buffers. Yeah. Span just means, begin and end just means the beginning of your data block and the end of your data block. Like the pointers to them. Signature. Yeah, it's like, so standard span will have a constructor for a begin and an end, which is a pointer type of this. So as long as it so it'll be like a template type T that has begin and end functions. That's how one of the ways you would construct a standard span. Find it. Reading STL's another thing altogether. It'll be in all that jargon somewhere. So all this jargon that ensures that happens, basically. Templates. Yeah, it works with templates. That's how it works. That's how it doesn't care what type you give it. What it cares about is whether you've implemented begin and end. So you could give it anything. As any block of memory, or anything really, it doesn't have to be a block of memory, and if you've got begin and end implemented, you can convert it into a span. So if you make your functions accept spans, that means it doesn't matter whether they're using standard vector, their vector, your vector, a third party vector, it doesn't matter, it will work as long as everybody has begin and end, which, you know, a proper container, public container should have implemented. Yeah, look at it. And it's not just span, like it works with views as well. So I'll just do it here. So you could have like array eyes is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I could say like auto j's is equal to i's where, and then you'd say like arg is greater than 3, greater than or equal to 3. So j's is 3 and 4 in this case. Check that actually compiles. And this where attachment, it doesn't care that i's is an array. If that was standard vector, it should still work. So it still works, still compiles. Apart from I can't get grey thing to go away. Do you know what I mean? And this could be any vector. It could be like T array from Unreal Engine. Is it T array? F array? I can't remember what it is. And that's a view. So that's standard views, filter, and then some lambda. Const auto arg. That's what where does, I think. But I can make views, which is standard, work with my array because of the beginning and the end operator. I can't remember what the actual blooming syntax is. Oh, it's that. If I just do this, it'll just show what it is on the actual tooltip. There it is. Standard views filter that, basically, on the tooltip there. So you can, they're compatible with one another. Gotta go to work, alright, see you later. Alright, cool. So that's kind of a natural end. That is, I believe the level editor. In terms of features, kind of right back up to where it was before, just in a rewritten state. So what would be nice is obviously copy and paste, copy and paste for all that, which I'll probably have to do tomorrow. Right, I'm gonna have to head off as well. Gotta go into town, I think. Go and do some stuff. Work at my other work. So yeah, I'm back on tomorrow at about 9:30, but I'll be on all day. I'll be on till about 3 o'clock tomorrow, from about 9:30 till 3 British time. So I'll see you in a bit.